everyone. I am so excited. Finally, we could not do this via Facebook Live, which we wanted to do, but we're trying with a different technology now, which is Zoom, and then I will post it to Facebook. And I am super excited today because I have my fellow biohacker, Marco Rodriguez, and Marco and his beautiful wife, Diane, occupational therapists. They have been doing this for over 20 years. And in 2013, they founded Transformations Rehab, which is now one of the largest outpatient clinics in the United States. And they mainly do pediatrics for kids with neurological issues in the ADD, ADHD, and Autism spectrum. And that is something that is very dear to me because I know this is becoming a very, very common and very disruptive issue for a lot of families. Marco serves in the board of directors for the Autism Society. He has won multiple awards, and the most recent one was in 2018, where he had the highest honor awarded by the University of Texas Medical Branch as a Distinguished Authority Award. Diane, Marco's wife, I did not know this. Now I know, don't mess with Diane, right? She is listed in the El Paso Martial Arts Hall of Fame because she's a martial arts artist, has a third-degree black belt in judo, has competed internationally, and both Marco and Diane, on top of their very busy practice, they are very active in their community and their church. And today, Marco shared with me that he has 6 kids, 6 grandchildren, 1 on the way, and he's also raising his goddaughter. So, oh my God, how do you do all this? I just have 1 grandchild and kids, and I'm like, oh my goodness. But anyway, thank you, Marco. I know you're super busy, and I'm so excited that you accepted my invitation. And my first question to you is, how did you find out about biohacking?
Well, first of all, I just want to say thank you so much for the invitation. Really an honor to be here. And I remember the day we met there, it was in Charleston, and we were there at that market, and we were just walking around talking and everything. And I remember when you came up to us, and I thought, wow, this lady really has something special. So I really appreciate it. It's an honor for me to be here. And just to share a little bit with you about our story, I hope we can make an impact. You know, and one of the things that I always like to say before I get started is that, you know, if anyone's watching this and they're not a part of, let's say, for example, they're not part of the group that I'm directly working with, and I say something that is different or contrary to what your leadership is teaching, you know, just go to them first, check with them first. We don't have all the answers. We're in the trenches just like everyone else. And but anyway, I just wanted to just start off with that. And so, as far as your question is, how did we hear about biohacking? Is that was your first question? Well, we have a pretty interesting story, actually. I first heard about biohacking about 4 years ago. Now, my whole life, I've always been sort of an amateur biohacker without really knowing that I was a biohacker. As a therapist, I looked back, way back when I was a first therapist. I've been a therapist now for 26 years. And when I first became a therapist, I started noticing that a lot of my patients who were elderly, I didn't work with children at the time. My initial practice was working with elderly folks, people with knee replacements, hip replacements, back surgery, strokes. And I noticed that a lot of them had a lot of the same comorbidities. They all had diabetes, they all had issues with diabetes, they all had issues with liver issues and high blood pressure and all that. So way back then, I decided that I was going to take proactive measures to do everything I can to help my system to combat that, to prolong the aging process as long as possible. Now, fast forward to about 4 years ago, it was at my brother's 50th birthday party, and so my enroller, Patsy Caulfield, some of her family members, we all went to the same high school together. So they wasn't there, but some of them were there. And they started talking to me about this thing, this nutritional line that, at least that's what I thought it was, that their sister was involved with, and that I should take a look because it would really help some of my patients. Now, we were at a party. I really wasn't interested in talking about business or anything like that. And to be honest, Diane and I were so overwhelmed with what was going on at our clinic, we weren't sure if we were going to keep the clinic open or not. So I just sort of said, okay, yeah, sure. Let's get back to the party. Don't really want to talk about business. Well, the very next Monday, Patsy sent me a message on Messenger and explained that she's going to be in El Paso in a couple weeks and wanted to meet with me. Well, look, again, my clinic, we were so overwhelmed. We weren't really sure we were going to keep the clinic open. And up until this point, I thought that it was going to be this little nutrition line, that we were going to have these little supplements, have a little booth in our clinic, and we were going to promote them. And I really wasn't interested in that. I've seen a lot. I've had a lot of people come to me about different nutrition lines, and I just wasn't feeling it. So I sort of put her off. And so, but here's the thing that Patsy did. Okay, first of all, I went back and looked at all my messages, because of course it's on Messenger, so I can go way back 4 years. And I never said no to her. I just simply said, right now it's just not a good time. I'm just not really interested right now. And she would always say, well, do you mind if I follow up with you the next time I'm in El Paso? And most of the time I'd say, yeah, sure, no problem. And guess what she would do? She would follow up. So if you have somebody out there that you've been talking to for a while and they're just not really getting the vibe, they're not really feeling it, don't give up hope, all right? We just weren't ready at the time. It had nothing to do with Patsy, had nothing to do with LifeVantage or with the products or anything like that. It just had to do with, I just wasn't really interested in anything else at the time. Well, so about a year ago, she contacts me again, and she says, hey, I'm going to be in town, want to sit with you and share with you. And here's what I did. I said, okay, so what we're going to do is you're going to come in on a Wednesday. That's when I have my administration meeting. You're going to sit down. You're going to present your little deal. You got 1 hour. And then after we are done, we'll decide if it's something we want to do. Because remember, I thought it was going to be, we were going to set up a display in our clinic and sell nutrition line, right? So supplements. And so she came in and she was smart. She told us about her story about her mom. And I understand that we don't claim to treat, cure, or mitigate any disease. But this is what she told me. She said that her mom, and I knew about this sort of, because again, we're all part of the same high school. We all know each other still. And Patsy's mom had stage 3 colon cancer. And so she refused chemo. She refused any kind of treatment. She just basically said, look, if I die, I die. And so they convinced her to take that little yellow pill. And so she starts taking it. 1 year later, she goes back to the oncologist, who of course is not very happy because she didn't follow the protocol. And the way the story goes is like that. She said, well, look, doctor, I'm still here. Don't you want to at least check me out and see what's going on? And when he checked her, did blood work and everything, all the markers were gone. Now, you call that, you can connect the dots any way you want to. I'm not saying that this cured her cancer, but all we know is that she had it. She did no chemo, she did nothing. She just took this little yellow pill, and a year later, the markers were gone. And this was several years ago. I've seen her now, and I've seen pictures of her, and she even looks younger now. She looks about 10 years younger now than she did, 8 years ago. So that really caught my attention. So Patsy told us the story. Then she did the right thing, and she brought on Carrie Williams and Melody Rodarte on a Zoom, and they basically shared with us the presentation. And I'll tell you, we were blown away. There was not a dry eye in the room, because I know that children with autism have several things in common, things like mitochondrial dysfunction. 78 to 80% of children with autism have mitochondrial dysfunction. I know that they have, children with autism have high levels of oxidative stress. They have really poor gut health. And I don't care what your doctor says, there's no medication out there that's gonna promote mitochondrial biogenesis. There's no medication out there that's going to reduce their oxidative stress levels, and there's certainly very little that they can do about the poor gut health. So I thought, oh my goodness, this is something that we could actually implement with our kids and maybe make a difference within their lives. So that's kind of a long story. I'm sorry I was a little long-winded, but that's kind of how we heard about biohacking. You're muted.
Perfect. Yeah, I muted myself because I stepped outside because they're working inside the house and it's very noisy. So I had to step outside. And of course, my dogs are here with me and they're panting. So I'm like, oh my God, is everybody listening to the panting and the barking every time they step out? So excellent. That actually tied into my second question, which was that I know, because this is something, you know, I showed this to several chiropractors and, you know, people that you would think are more into this holistic way of thinking, and you think they, you know, they'd be really eager to take a look and use this for their patients. And a lot of times we hit this brick wall. So my next question to you was that I was sure that you were offered so many things. So was it just the story, or was it something else? Was it the science? What was it that made you, that light bulb moment where you said, oh my God, this is different than all the other stuff that is brought over to me?
Okay, well, the first thing that I want to share with you is that it is really difficult to get on the inside of a health professional, for example, a doctor, chiropractor, and so forth. And the reason for that is because we do get contacted by a lot of different companies that want to come and solicit things. And you know, most medical practices have what's called an office manager, and that office manager is the gatekeeper, and that office manager's job is to protect our time. And if they're good at it, it's almost impossible to get in there. But you know, if anyone's out there and they want to share this with a physician, here's what I would do, or with a, you know, whether it be an MD, DO, chiropractor, or other therapy clinic, here's what I would do. I would call that clinic up, and I would ask for the office manager, and then ask the office manager if they ever consider any outside vendors to come in and do an in-service. That's the word that you want to use. And we're always interested in in-services, because in-service to us, it says something about an education. We're going to have an educational discussion. If you come in and say, I like to do a presentation, well, we're not really interested in presentations most of the time, because we don't want to be sold anything. We think we know everything. And we've been contacted by so many different vendors that want to sell this and sell that, we're just not really, we're just kind of tired of that. So if you call them and ask them, say, look, I'd really like to do an educational in-service about and something that might benefit your clinic, would you be willing to? We'll come in, and here's the other thing, you got to feed them. If you want to go in there, you got to feed them. And then usually the physician's going to be there, the office manager's going to be there, maybe if they have a nurse practitioner is going to be in there. Okay, so you got to kind of set it up that way. For us, I think, number one, it was because I knew Patsy and I knew her family. And I think after 3 years, I felt really guilty. The other thing was that, you know, she hit us right at high noon. She never gave up. And so in the very beginning, we were so overwhelmed with trying to keep our clinic afloat that we really thought we were going to close our practice. So we were thinking, why in the world would we want to bring on anything else to divert my attention to just keep staying in that survival mode? And so, I don't really know that there was anything really super special other than the fact that she was persistent, and she happened to catch us at the right time. Maybe there was a little bit of guilt on my end because I've been putting her off for so long. But what I saw in this, and if there's any other health professionals out there, here's what's different about this, and this is what caught my attention. And I said this, I alluded to this earlier. There are no medications that are clinically proven to promote mitochondrial biogenesis. And there are very few things that you can do to reduce the oxidative stress levels. Now, we know that there are over 200 diseases like cancer, diabetes, Parkinson's, multiple sclerosis, lupus, cardiovascular disease. We know autism, ADHD. We know that there's over 200 diseases that are linked to two things: mitochondrial dysfunction and high levels of oxidative stress. And if anyone's out there and they're watching this, listen to me very carefully. There are no medications that are clinically proven, at least not that I know of. And if you find one, please send it my way. But there are no medications that I'm aware of that promote mitochondrial biogenesis. And there's very little that you can do to reduce your oxidative stress levels. You literally have to eat, I don't know if it's like 11 bowls of spinach or something crazy like that every single day just to even begin to combat the level of oxidative stress that you're involved with. So with biohacking, the reason why what caught my attention is that I'm aware of what catalase and glutathione, because our kids with autism, they have very low glutathione levels. Most of us, as we get older, have very low glutathione. And of course, superoxide dismutase. Those three enzymes, when working together, are 1 million times more powerful than any antioxidant that you could ever supplement. So we're not talking about supplementation, we're talking about activation. And that really caught my attention.
Perfect. Thank you so much. And thanks for that tip about visiting, because, you know, we're so excited about this and we want the whole world to know. And in my case, I've seen several pediatric clinics that I pass every day, and they advertise, you know, services for ADHD, autism, and I'm like, oh my God, like if they knew, and you almost feel like guilty, right? Like I find that I have like an ethical responsibility to at least try to show this and tell them, look, you know, take a look. And you're right, that getting the foot in the door is hard. So that's an excellent tip, and I really appreciate that. So my third question for you is, because a lot of people that we approach about our biohacking side hustle, like we like to call it, is everybody goes like, oh, I'm busy, I'm busy, I'm too busy, I'm too busy. And I get it, everybody's busy. But I mean, talk about busy, like you are super, super busy. And you still said yes. And why the business side of it? We get, you know, how excited you were about finding something that could help your patients, because you had nothing else available that could do what these biohacking technology does. But why take on that one more thing? What did you see? What made you say yes to the business?
Yeah, that's actually a pretty simple question, because look, successful people always have multiple irons in the fire. Okay. Look, I know several physicians who have their practice, but some of them may own an ambulance service. One of them owns a helicopter service. Successful people want to have multiple streams of income. And I've always known that. So, again, the reason why we were sort of putting off doing anything else was because our bread and butter was our clinic, or is our clinic. And we were really overwhelmed with that. But that by no means should indicate that that was going to be our only source of income ever. At some point in time, I thought about doing investing and learning how to invest online, trading options and doing all kinds of things. But what we saw with this, not only did it resonate with me, because I thought, well, not only could my patients benefit, but also myself. I have a son who was 16 years old. He had a closed head injury. Who was in special education for 8 years. We biohacked with him, and after it was about 6 weeks later, he tested out of special education, and now he's taking advanced placement, getting college credit. He's doing all kinds of sports now. He's doing kendo, he's doing wrestling. So, all these things. So I saw not only the product, and that resonated with me, but I also saw the opportunity to create another source of income, something that was going to be kind of a passive or residual source of income. Most people will work 40, 50 years and end up with almost nothing. And we didn't want to be that way. We like the idea of the royalties income, where we do the work today, and if we do it right, we get paid every month for years and years and years and years. And so that's really the reason why we decided to go ahead and pursue this as a business as well. And the thing is that everybody's busy. Everybody is busy. I don't know anyone, at least I don't associate with anyone who's just sitting around on the couch, eating Hershey bars, watching Netflix all day. Everybody's busy. But if you're too busy to do something, or people say, well, I'm too busy to do this, or I can't afford this and I can't afford that, well, that's the reason to do it. We have 6 children. And then also I have my goddaughter. My goddaughter is an adult now, and most of my kids are now adults. But they're the reason why I do it. A lot of people, it's just a mindset with people, and you just have to be okay with the fact that this isn't going to be for everyone, because not everyone has a kind of a wealth mentality, creating kind of just creating a legacy for your family. I mean, why wouldn't you want to do that?
Yes, that's something that motivates me a lot. Well, right now, my first motivation is, I don't know if you know, my husband was diagnosed with Guillain-Barré syndrome 6 years ago, and this was a godsend for us because we knew about it right at that moment, and we think it benefited him a lot for his recovery. But he's back to work, and he's not 100%. So my big goal is to be able to retire him early. But then again, I find that times are hard, and you have to be living under a rock to not hear that this generation, the younger people are having a lot more trouble getting ahead. The student loans, they go to school, they acquire all this big debt, and then they go out, and sometimes they can't even find a job in the profession that they invested all this money in. So for me, that is also something, I have a dog training business, and when I die, my dog training business dies with me because none of my kids want to train dogs. But this is something that I can give as a legacy, and it's also a very big motivation for me as well.
Something that's also really important to keep in mind is that, for example, in our clinic, we've probably invested well over $300,000. I mean, we just secured a $150,000 loan just so that we can get the equipment that we need in order to continue to grow the clinic, right? Well, when you're going to run a traditional business, well, first of all, you're either going to have a job and going to work for someone else and work for someone else's dreams, work for someone else's goals, or you're going to work for your own. And the only way to really work for your own is either become a really good investor or to own your own business. And if you're going to run a traditional business, a traditional brick and mortar business, you're going to invest a lot of money. You're going to have to borrow money. You're going to have to put a lot of your own money in. And it's an all or none. I mean, Diane and I left our jobs to start this clinic. And if this clinic didn't survive, we were finished. We were going to be financially ruined. And so the risk factor of running a traditional business is really not very appealing to a lot of people. But what I like about our biohacking business is that we do this it starts off initially as a side hustle. Now, we don't treat it like a hobby. We treat it like it's a real business. We focus on it. We pay attention. We're tracking things. But this is a business that we can start off with, just almost nothing compared to the hundreds of thousands of dollars that we invested in the clinic. What we spend in our biohacking business to get started is almost nothing. And the potential to grow this business and have an international business, have an international online business, the residual income that goes along with it, and the fact that as long as you have a phone or internet, a laptop or anything, you can do it from anywhere in the world. Why in the world would anybody not want to try this? So we really saw that that this was really going to be the future for us.
Well, thank you, and I am so excited. I'm going to go back and listen to this and take a million notes, and I will record this, and then that way it's available also for your wonderful team. I'm looking forward to seeing you at our next event, which is just like 10, 12 days away. Yep. And so excited for the future. So excited to find out what new things the company is going to lay out for us. We have that new wonderful trip to Cancun in February, which I'm already signed up for.
Oh, yeah.
So excited about that. And Marco, I cannot thank you enough. I feel this energy that is contagious that we share among all the distributors in this company, that we truly, oh, I have a little frog or something here in my Florida room. But that's what I tell my team, share from your heart, because we can change the world. We can heal lives. We are also, my team is very involved with the animals, and we have just, amazing dog and horse stories. And I also find that I need to be a voice for those animals that don't have a voice. And we have literally something that can help the whole world. Anyone, any creature that breathes can be helped with our biohacking technology, and we're excited to share it with the people that want to listen. When they're ready to listen, we'll be here for you. So Marco, thank you so much from the bottom of my heart from taking time from your extremely busy life. And I hope to see you soon. And gosh, thank you, and say hi to Diane and see you soon. I hope to be able to meet, even if it's in the hallways, and give you a big hug.
Yeah, thank you. We look forward to seeing you in KC.
Okay, bye-bye. Thank you so much.